What's going on, beautiful people? This here is my wild styled Endler aquarium, which has gone too wild. Now, letting it go this wild was partly deliberate. I mean, I've got a ton of babies in here and I wanted to give them cover. But with everything growing out of the surface and full coverage of all the floating plants, it's getting very, very hard to be able to maintain this tank. So the first thing I need to do is remove well, not all of it, but a lot of this mini water lettuce, because it's not so many anymore. I've actually removed some of the huge pieces already, but the smaller ones, I'm going to collect up most of them, put them in little bags, take them to Maidenhead Aquatics in Taunton, and they can sell them on, and you guys, if you live locally, can get them from there. I mean, the quality of them is absolutely brilliant. They've got really good roots. I mean, they work so well at cleaning the water, so I won't be taking all of them out, but I'll take most of them out because they grow back so fast that the whole surface is covered within like a week or two. There we go, look, even just removing those few floating plants has made a big difference to the lighting, but now we need to tackle that massive stem section. These stems started all the way at the base of the aquarium, and you know they're dense and doing well when they're growing out the top in their immersed form. It's actually quite amazing how different a plant looks underwater versus out. This plant is rotala, and underwater it looks like, you know, helicopter blades. That's why it's rotala, I guess. But out of the water, it's very rounded and completely different shape. So yeah, as you can see here, look, each one of those leaves underwater, that is all rotala, and it's got the rotary blade shaped thing. But anyway, back to attacking this. This side is pretty good, it just needs thinning out with some of the... This side is pretty good, it just needs thinning out with some of the polysperma that you can see in the top section. But this lot is a clump of, like I say, rotala, but also pearlweed, and it is very thick. So I think I'm gonna have to get right in there and just cut it all out and then replace in sections what I think will work, like closest to the back. Oh wow, we have got a lot of plants here now. As I said, some of these are all immersed growth, so they will convert again, but I can plug them. I cut them in a way so I can grab it down the bottom, place it back in much lower down, and because of all of the wood that we've got in here, like sort of, it looks really natural, actually it looks great like that, but you know, I literally cannot in my own mind not reuse these. So yeah, all I've got to do is just place them down near the substrate. I don't even have to push them into the sand, and the roots will find their way down there. They'll find the nutrients. And that's because they're already so well formed. They're all stem plants, so whilst they're trying to send their roots down, the stems themselves can actually take on nutrients, which isn't optimal, but it will be really good in the meantime whilst those roots are trying to get in the substrate. So I'm going to place all these back in now, way more open. I'm going to get them right to the back as well. There's still some shadowy parts back there. That's because we've still got some floating plants on the background, so I'll get those out as well. And remember guys, all of these plants have been grown without CO2. I've never ever had CO2 on this tank at all. Right, look at that, that's right down at the base there. They should be kind of locked in. There we go, much better. I've got more space the other side. I've got more sort of greens in this group. Gonna go right back here, get them down nice and deep, tucked into the back section. And that's where I'm gonna make my future lines for trimming, right here where this wood is. If it goes above the wood in any sort of way, that's where I'll trim it back. And similar in this section here. I think doing it this way just creates a much nicer backdrop because it looks completely filled in natural, but we've still got all the light. And then these final ones on this side as well, right back there. They should stay in place. Got some roots, look. These are roots from the plants, just trying to reach for nutrients. Just take those off because they look a bit odd. Once they're growing all together, it'll be fine. A couple of stragglers. That is looking good. And then last but not least, some more in this back corner. Get it right in there. Nice and low. That looks so good. Look at all the snails that have come forward as well. Now we've got quite a lot of bits floating. You can remove stuff manually. I don't want to do it too much though, because I don't want to catch any of those fry from the Ender guppy babies, you know? I don't want to catch those. Luckily they're all staying back because I've just disturbed everything, but I'm so pleased with how this has turned out. I was worried it was going to look rubbish after I did that. Now when I cut all of the stems, I did it in a very loose way, not like extra neat or anything like that. And as you can see, the result means that it still looks natural, but it's been trimmed back. And I find personally that's the best way of trimming stem plants. No, I don't want that snout, it's gorgeous. Don't. Oh, now the fry's coming forward, I can see them all. Is it fry if it's Endler babies? I just like calling them Endler babies. Is fry more when it comes from an egg? I don't know. I'm gonna let that all sort of clear up. It should be looking fantastic. And you might be noticing down the bottom here, look, there's a lot of mulm in this corner. I could potentially clean that up, but is it really a nature tank if you've removed all of the mulm? All of that's gonna have microorganisms, stuff that the snails can eat at, food for the babies as well. So I think I'm just gonna leave that. I think it adds to the sort of naturalness of it, if you like. That's a lot of breakdown. That will be the leaves that I originally put in here, and this sort of created this awesome natural look to it. Oh. Right, let's give it a moment to get clear and it should look insane. Now, whilst we wait for the aquarium to clear, I just want to show you guys this tank here because I'm actually sort of blown away with how well it's done. So this is the Superfish Quadro, and when I set it up, I knew that I could get plants to grow really well in it. I did not think that it would be this insane. Look at that little school of green Resporas there. I like to hang out in that little light section. It does need a trim back, don't get me wrong, but I mean, that only proves my point of how crazy these plants grow in here. Now, this isn't a sponsored video or anything, I just want to show you how well things can do. And if you lift it up, you can see all it's got is this tiny little panel of lights. They're decent brightness, and for such an affordable tank, that's nicely framed. I don't usually choose tanks with the black silicone side, but I think it works really well in this tank. I don't know why. Now here's the thing, everyone's saying you need CO2 to grow plants or even carpeting plants. Look at this Monte Carlo. Now down in this corner, there's not really a lot of light at all, but look, it's all healthy and it's all grown right in. Let me trim it back a little bit so we can see a little bit more what's going on. Look at the root system that was on that water lettuce there. So this is mini water lettuce, but obviously the longer you leave it, the bigger it gets. I don't know if there is such a thing as mini water lettuce, to be honest. There we go, look at that. Really come into its own. They're still all out in the open. You can see a lot more. See some of the reds poking through at the back as well. I mean, what a great little tank. And I don't do anything to it at all. What you've just seen then, me doing a little trim at the side, I think I've done that once before. All I do is top up the water. We've got a nice little filter flowing in the back, which some people said wasn't strong enough, but I always said it's definitely strong enough if it's doing the job, and it's more than doing the job. It's a small tank, so you don't want a big filter blowing everything around, do you? This is just absolutely ideal. How nice are those Respora as well? Sort of glow when they go under the light. Oh yeah, we've got cherries as well at the back. Such a nice tank. There we go, we are looking clear. It looks so good. Lots and lots of babies swimming around everywhere. I'm having difficulty catching some of the adults on camera at the moment. I mean, they're obviously in there because there's so many babies. Oh, there we go. There's an adult male at the top there. Now, it could be that a lot of the original fish that I put in here, the adults, could have died off because although this tank's only 4 months old, the fish that I put in here have been around in the studio for a lot longer. And then you bear in mind, of course, that when I got them, they were already adults, so probably like around a year old anyway. Enders, of course, do not have huge lifespans. It's ranged on the internet from 2 years to 3 years. I mean, that sounds about right. But then that's also why they have so many babies. Females quite often will go right to the back and just sit down on the substrate of plants when they're nearing giving birth. So that could well be the case at the moment with some of the females. But having said that, before I started ripping everything apart, I did see quite a few. So they're obviously at the back hiding, doing something, I don't know. One thing I'm massively impressed with is this Cryptocoryne flamingo. Look at it. I mean, it was down the bottom there. There wasn't much light getting in at all. We've still got those really nice colours. Now that we've opened the section up, it will definitely get more and more pink as well and grow even faster. But to be honest, the fact that all of these plants down here are still massively vibrant and green and growing really well is astonishing really, because there was barely any light. It just goes to show a lot of people overestimate the amount of light they're going to need to grow plants. And look at this boost. I'm not sure if it's showing up on camera, but look at the blue in it. Goes to show you can get blue in plants. This is Bucephalandra Thea, I think it's called. Looks so nice. Now, one question I get really regularly is, how do you keep the snail population down? Well, you notice in this tank, there's probably a lot more snails than you'd see in a lot of them, because we deliberately sort of overfeed this tank with algae wafers, because this is my sort of, I don't know, I kind of treat it as my snail growing tank. So when I've got new setups, I can come here and just take a load out and put them into the new tank straight away. Because I just think without snails in your tank, you're just missing out massively on an important part of the ecosystem. They do so much work. Like, literally, I don't think my tanks would be as good as they are without snails and plants, fish and substrate systems and lights and stuff as well. Like even down here, like you can see, I've not even fed the tank today and they're already in this area. There'll be remnants of previous bits of food, but they're nice big juicy ones. Look, we've got adults, we've got babies, we've got bladder snails as well. So the two that I use are the ram's horn snails and the bladder snails. So this one right here with all the colour, that is the ram's horn snail, called as such because of how cool its shell twirls around like a ram's horn. But yeah, absolute favourite they are. And the bladders are great as well. They stay about the same size adult grown, as you can see right there. They can get a little bit bigger, but most of them stay around that size. Which for scale, you can see them there, look. So yeah, this tank now should be good for at least a month, I would say. Probably a little bit less if I want to keep right on top of it. I'm going to come back in about 2 weeks. Now I've got these pieces of wood to go as my sort of guideline and trim around that and keep this middle section that pokes all the way through. Keep that going because I think that looks really, really good. And you might notice as well, I've kept some stems a little bit longer. Like, why trim them off? I just think that adds to the realism. If you look at nature, there's going to be random little bits that are sprouting out higher than others. And this is why I hate just sort of hacking it down to like that sort of flat level. I know that's what they do for like contest tanks and proper showrooms, but it's just not my vibe at all. I don't mind hacking back tanks when the outcome is like this. So hopefully you got some ideas and learned a few tips in this video. And I look forward to seeing you on updates in the future on all the other tanks. See you later.